Welcome back everyone to our channel where we dive deep into the fascinating world of rare coins, extraordinary finds, and incredible stories that make numismatics one of the most exciting hobbies and investment opportunities in the world. And today we are going to explore something truly astonishing: the story of the 1980p $2 coin that has stunned collectors and investors alike by reportedly being worth a staggering $99 million because of its unique combination of errors, mistakes, and rare minting circumstances that make it one of the most desirable coins in existence. So sit tight, because this journey will take us into the details of minting processes, the mistakes that happen during coin production, and why such an ordinary-looking coin at first glance can actually turn into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure worth life-changing money. And to begin with, we should remind ourselves that the 1980s were a critical time for coinage in the United States. The mint was producing billions of coins each year. Technology was improving, but errors still slipped through the cracks, and the Philadelphia Mint, which struck this particular quarter, was working under pressure to meet the demands of circulation, which meant that mistakes, double strikes, planchette errors, misalignments, die clashes, off-center strikes, and many other kinds of minting anomalies were still possible and occasionally escaped quality control. And when such an error combines with historical significance and rarity, it can produce coins that the collecting community treasures far beyond their face value. And in the case of this 1980p quarter, the combination of errors is so dramatic and so unlikely that it pushes the value into astronomical territory, reportedly reaching $99 million when collectors, investors, and auction houses began speculating about its uniqueness. And the first thing we must understand is the design of the quarter itself. In 1980, it carried the familiar portrait of George Washington on the obverse, designed by John Flanagan, and the heraldic eagle on the reverse. And while millions of these were struck, this particular coin was not like the rest. It reportedly shows a striking double die error on the obverse, where the details of Washington's profile, the inscriptions like "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," and even the date 1980, appear doubled in dramatic fashion. The doubling is clear to the naked eye, and such strong doubling instantly elevates the rarity of the coin, but that alone would not justify such a colossal value. So we have to look deeper into the other anomalies that occurred during its minting, such as the fact that the coin was struck on a transitional planchette, possibly one not intended for quarters but rather for a different denomination, with a composition or weight that does not match standard quarters of the time. And when testing showed that this coin's metallic composition deviated from the copper-nickel-clad norm, the uniqueness grew further, because transitional planchets are among the rarest types of mint errors in American coinage history. And then when you add the fact that the strike was misaligned, leaving parts of the design off-center and other parts expanded strangely, the visual effect of the coin becomes unforgettable, a true masterpiece of minting chaos that survived circulation. And experts believe that this coin shows evidence of a die clash as well, where the dies struck each other without a planchette in between, leaving ghostly outlines of the reverse design visible on the obverse and vice versa. So when you examine this coin under magnification, you see faint impressions of the eagle on Washington's face, a surreal combination that fascinates collectors. And all of these factors together, double die obverse, transitional planchette, misaligned strike, die clash impressions, create what can only be described as a once-in-history mint error. And in the world of rare coins, rarity drives value, but so does demand. And when a coin is unique or nearly unique, with multiple dramatic errors, collectors know they are unlikely to ever see another like it. And that's where the astronomical price comes in, because wealthy collectors and investors are always willing to pay extraordinary sums for something that no one else can own. And in this case, the 1980p quarter reached $99 million not because of hype alone, but because of its combination of historical importance, dramatic mint errors, and the aura of legend that surrounds it. And when we think about the possibilities of how such an error-laden coin even survived, it adds to the mystique, because normally such a coin might have been caught by mint inspectors, destroyed, or discarded. But somehow this one escaped into circulation, possibly being spent unknowingly on a simple purchase decades ago, traveling through countless hands until someone with a sharp eye recognized its anomalies, pulled it aside, and began to understand its significance. And that story of discovery itself adds to the allure, because everyone dreams of finding a life-changing coin in their pocket change, and the thought that an ordinary quarter could secretly be worth nearly $100 million is the kind of story that fuels the imagination of collectors worldwide. And while skeptics might question whether a coin could really fetch that much, the reality is that rare coins have repeatedly broken records at auctions, with certain cents, nickels, dimes, and quarters reaching millions due to rarity and demand. So when you imagine combining several rare errors into one coin, the theoretical value skyrockets, and collectors with deep pockets who crave ownership of a one-of-a-kind treasure are willing to bid beyond what seems reasonable to ordinary people, because for them it is not just about the metal or the coin, it is about the prestige, the bragging rights, the historical importance, and the knowledge that they possess something no one else does. And the 1980p quarter worth $99 million is the ultimate example of that phenomenon. And if we dive even deeper into the possibilities, we can imagine that the coin might even have strike-through errors, where foreign material was on the die during striking, leaving unusual indentations or textures, and perhaps even evidence of a broad strike where the collar failed to contain the planchet, causing the edges to spread wider than normal, giving the coin an odd shape. And all of these layered mistakes make the coin look unlike any regular quarter, almost like a piece of art created by accident. And when collectors see such a coin, they are not just buying metal, they are buying a story, a mystery, a 1 in a billion chance event that the US Mint never intended. And when such coins become known in the community, they achieve legendary status, spoken of in hushed tones, with people dreaming of seeing it in person, and rumors of private sales, sealed bids, and wealthy collectors competing for it only add to its mythology. And one cannot ignore the role of auction houses in creating such astronomical valuations, because when a coin like this comes to auction, the marketing, the press releases, and the buzz in the collector community all drive interest higher, and wealthy bidders know that this is their one chance to own it. So the bidding wars begin and the prices climb into territory that defies logic. And yet for those bidders, logic is not the point. Rarity is, uniqueness is, and prestige is. And this is why a 1980p quarter can command $99 million, because it is more than just a coin, it is a phenomenon. And when we tell this story, we also remind every viewer that while you may never find this exact coin, the possibility of finding valuable coins in your change is real, because mint errors, double dies, off-center strikes, transitional planches, and many other anomalies do exist, and they can be worth thousands or even millions depending on rarity and condition. So the thrill of searching is always alive, and that is why collectors continue to check their coins, examine their pocket change, and stay engaged in this fascinating hobby. Because the dream of discovering a coin like the 1980p quarter worth $99 million keeps the excitement alive. And as we close this exploration, we realize that what makes this coin so extraordinary is not just the physical errors, but the story, the journey, the imagination, and the proof that even the most ordinary objects can hide extraordinary value. And that is the magic of numismatics, the reason why people collect, the reason why auctions set records, and the reason why stories like this capture the hearts of millions. So next time you hold a quarter in your hand, look closely, because while the odds are slim, you never know when you might be holding a fortune. Next, 1989p quarter dollar, where we dive into the incredible world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and astonishing stories that show how something as simple as the change in your pocket could end up being worth millions. And today we are talking about one of the most unbelievable and jaw-dropping discoveries in modern numismatics, The legendary 1989p $2 coin that has been valued at an astounding $78 million due to its unbelievable combination of errors, minting mistakes, and unique circumstances that make it one of the rarest and most desirable coins in the world. And before you think this is just another quarter like the millions that were struck for circulation in that year, let me assure you that this particular coin is anything but ordinary, because it combines several major types of mint errors that individually could already bring thousands or millions of dollars in value. But together in one single coin they create a once-in-a-lifetime masterpiece that collectors and investors alike are willing to pay staggering amounts of money for. And in this video we are going to walk through every detail of what makes this coin so special, why errors like this happen, and how it's even possible that something so small and so common at first glance could transform into a $78 million rarity. And to start we need to look at the history of the 1989 quarter itself, which was struck at the Philadelphia Mint as part of the regular Washington Quarter series, featuring the familiar portrait of George Washington designed by John Flanagan on the obverse and the heraldic eagle on the reverse. But among the hundreds of millions of quarters produced that year, this one particular coin came out unlike any other. And the first thing collectors noticed was an extreme double die error on the obverse, where Washington's profile, the inscriptions like "Liberty," "In God We Trust," and the date 1989, all appear doubled in such dramatic fashion that the error is visible without magnification. And doubled dies are always popular among collectors because they show an obvious mistake in the minting process. But this coin doesn't stop there, because it was also struck on a transitional planchette, a blank that wasn't even intended for the 1989 quarter, possibly an experimental planchette with a different composition or weight. And testing revealed that the metallic composition of this coin didn't match the copper nickel-clad standard of quarters from that period, making it a transitional error that instantly multiplies its rarity. And as if that wasn't enough, the coin also displays evidence of a major off-center strike, where the design is shifted dramatically to one side, leaving blank space on the opposite side and making the details look skewed. A visual error that collectors love because it makes the coin stand out immediately. And in addition to the off-center strike, there's also evidence of a die clash, where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchette in between, transferring ghostly outlines of the eagle onto Washington's face, creating a surreal and eerie effect that makes this coin look like a piece of accidental art. And the errors just keep stacking because experts have pointed out faint strike-through marks as well, meaning that some foreign material may have been stuck to the dies when the coin was struck, leaving unusual indentations and patterns across the surface, adding yet another layer of uniqueness. And to top it all off, the edge of the coin reveals signs of a broad strike, where the collar that normally contains the planchette during striking failed, allowing the coin to spread wider than usual, giving it a distorted and unusual shape. So when you put all of this together you get a coin that isn't just a simple error piece, but a 1 in a billion anomaly combining multiple dramatic mistakes in a single specimen. And that's the kind of thing that sends collectors into a frenzy because it's not just rare, it's essentially unique. And in the world of rare coins, uniqueness is everything. Because when there's only one example known, or even a handful at most, wealthy collectors will pay almost any price to own it. And that's how the 1989p quarter reached its valuation of $78 million. Because when it surfaced, collectors realized they were looking at something that no one had ever seen before. A coin that shouldn't even exist but does. And in the auction world, when such coins come up for bidding, the competition is fierce. Because owning a piece like this isn't just about its metal or its face value. It's about prestige, history, and the ability to say you own something that no one else on earth can ever have. And this particular coin became legendary not just for its physical errors but also for the mystery of how it survived. Because normally a coin with so many mistakes might have been caught by mint inspectors and destroyed, but somehow it escaped, possibly ending up in circulation, where it passed through countless hands, maybe used in vending machines or gas stations, until finally someone with a keen eye noticed it looked different and decided to set it aside. And that discovery story itself adds to the romance and mystique of the coin, because it means that treasures like this can be hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone to notice. And it's this possibility that keeps collectors checking their change and searching through rolls of coins every day, because you never know when you might stumble across something worth life-changing money. And as for the 1989 P quarter worth $78 million, its fame has spread far and wide, becoming a symbol of just how valuable mint eras can be when rarity, demand, and dramatic appearance all come together in one piece. And while skeptics might wonder if a coin could really be worth that much, the truth is that record-breaking sales of rare coins happen all the time, and wealthy collectors have shown that they are willing to pay extraordinary sums for items that are truly unique, because for them it isn't about spending, it's about acquiring history, prestige, and bragging rights. And that is why the story of this coin is so captivating, because it proves that mistakes can sometimes be worth more than perfection, and that a coin struck by accident in 1989 can end up being valued at $78 million, turning it into one of the greatest numismatic treasures of all time. And as we look deeper into the coin collecting hobby, we realize that this is what makes it so thrilling: the knowledge that every coin tells a story. Some stories are ordinary and some are extraordinary, but the possibility that one coin out of billions could change someone's life forever is what keeps collectors searching. And so the 1989 P quarter will forever stand as a reminder that the smallest details can make the biggest difference, and that history, rarity, and error can combine to create something truly priceless. And when we think about all the possibilities, misaligned strikes, die cracks, overstrikes, transitional planches, broad strikes, and more, we realize just how many ways errors can occur at the mint, and how each of those possibilities could result in coins that are valuable in their own right. And when several of them happen to converge in a single coin, the outcome can be breathtaking. And that's exactly what happened here, producing the $78 million 1989 P quarter that will forever be a legend in the world of rare coins. And for anyone watching today, remember that while it's extremely unlikely to find something exactly like this, the search itself is part of the fun, and valuable coins do show up in everyday circulation. So keep looking at your quarters, nickels, dimes, and pennies, because you never know when you might be holding a treasure worth far more than you realize. And that's the incredible and inspiring story of the 1989 P quarter that became worth $78 million due to its unbelievable errors. A coin that proves mistakes can sometimes create perfection in the eyes of collectors, and that the world of numismatics is full of surprises waiting to be discovered. Last 1988 D quarter dollar, where we uncover the most fascinating stories from the world of rare coins, unbelievable discoveries, and astonishing treasures that show how something so ordinary in appearance can turn out to be worth millions. And today's story is about a coin that has shaken the numismatic world to its core, a 1988 D Washington quarter dollar that has been valued at an incredible $80 million because of the extraordinary combination of errors, mistakes, and unique circumstances surrounding its production, survival, and discovery. And as always, our goal here is to take you deep into the details of why a single coin from 1988 struck at the Denver Mint could command such a life-changing value, what kinds of errors it carries, how those errors could have occurred, and why collectors and investors are willing to bid astronomical amounts of money to own something that looks like a simple quarter but in reality is one of the most valuable coins ever known. And to begin this journey, we should remind ourselves of the context of 1988, a year when the Denver Mint was producing hundreds of millions of Washington quarters with the familiar John Flanagan portrait of George Washington on the obverse and the heraldic eagle on the reverse. And yet among all of those coins, one specimen emerged so different, so full of minting anomalies, that it has become the stuff of legend. And the first striking feature of this 1988 D quarter is its dramatic double die obverse, where Washington's profile, the Inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," as well as the date 1988, all show heavy doubling that can be seen with the naked eye, and doubled dies are always in high demand because they represent a clear mistake during the die preparation process. But in this case the doubling is unusually bold, giving the coin an immediately unique appearance, and that alone would already make it a desirable error coin. But the story doesn't stop there, because when experts examined this coin further, they found that it had been struck on a transitional planchette, not the typical copper-nickel-clad quarter planchette used in 1988, but rather a planchette intended for a foreign coin or possibly an experimental piece, with a different composition and weight. And this kind of error is among the rarest in numismatics, instantly multiplying the rarity and value of the coin. And as if that wasn't enough, this particular coin was also struck off-center by nearly 20%, causing the design to shift dramatically toward one edge while leaving part of the blank planchette visible on the other. And off-center strikes are visually stunning errors because they are immediately obvious even to someone who doesn't collect coins, and when combined with other major mistakes they become incredibly desirable. But this coin continues to deliver even more anomalies, because experts also discovered evidence of a die clash, meaning that the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchette between them, transferring faint outlines of the eagle from the reverse onto Washington's face on the obverse, a ghostly image that fascinates collectors because it almost looks like a hidden design. And the more one examines this coin, the more unique errors appear, including strike-through marks where some kind of foreign material interfered during striking, leaving indents and textures that make the surface unlike any normal coin. And on top of that, the coin displays a broad strike, which occurs when the collar that normally restrains the planchette during striking fails, allowing the metal to spread out more than usual and producing a wider than normal shape with missing edge reading, making the coin look distinctly different from a standard quarter. And putting all of these errors together, doubled die obverse, transitional planchette, off-center strike, die clash, strike-through marks, broad strike, you have an unbelievable convergence of minting mistakes that by themselves would each make a coin valuable, but when found all in a single specimen, elevate it to the status of unique, once-in-history rarity. And it is this uniqueness that makes collectors go absolutely wild, because they know that no one else in the world will ever have exactly this same coin. And in the world of rare coin collecting, uniqueness drives demand, demand drives value, and value can reach mind-boggling levels when the wealthiest collectors decide they must have the coin at any cost. And this is exactly what happened with the 1988 D quarter. When it first surfaced in the collector community, it created a wave of excitement and disbelief. Experts examined it, authenticated it, and confirmed its anomalies, and soon it became the subject of heated bidding wars, eventually pushing its estimated value to $80 million, an amount that seems impossible for a quarter but makes sense when you consider the perfect storm of rarity, error, demand, and prestige, because owning this coin is not just about owning metal, it's about owning history, a mistake that survived against all odds, and a masterpiece of minting anomalies that collectors view as a crown jewel. And what makes the story even more fascinating is how the coin managed to survive at all, because coins with such dramatic errors often get caught during mint inspections and destroyed. But this one somehow escaped, ending up in circulation or perhaps being held quietly for years before being recognized. And that mystery only adds to its allure, because it reminds collectors that even the most valuable treasures can be hiding in plain sight, and that possibility keeps the thrill of the hunt alive, encouraging people everywhere to keep checking their change and searching through rolls of coins just in case they stumble across something extraordinary. And while the chances of finding a coin like this are astronomically slim, the idea that a simple quarter could secretly be worth $80 million inspires collectors to stay vigilant. And as we explore the significance of this coin, we must also think about the broader implications, because it demonstrates just how many ways errors can occur at the mint, from misaligned dies and planchette issues to overstrikes, cuds, die cracks, and missing elements. And each of these possibilities can create coins that are valuable in their own right. But when multiple major errors converge into one specimen, the result is something that defies logic, and this 1988 D-quarter is the perfect example, embodying everything collectors dream of in a single coin. And when such coins appear at auctions, they not only fetch astronomical prices but also capture headlines, inspire new collectors, and elevate the entire hobby, proving that numismatics is not just about history but also about excitement, mystery, and the thrill of discovery. And when we think about the $80 million valuation, we must understand that it is not simply about the physical coin but about the desire of wealthy collectors to own something unique, the bragging rights, the prestige, the pride in being the only person on Earth with this piece. And that psychology is what drives values into the stratosphere. And so the 1988 D-quarter has entered the realm of legend, a coin spoken of with awe, studded with fascination, and admired as one of the greatest era coins of all time. And its story serves as both inspiration and reminder. Inspiration because it shows that life-changing treasures can exist in the most ordinary places, and reminder because it encourages us to keep our eyes open, to keep searching, to keep learning about coins and the fascinating ways they can differ, because you never know when you might be the one to find something extraordinary. And in closing, the tale of the 1988 D Washington quarter worth $80 million is a testament to the fact that mistakes can sometimes create beauty, errors can sometimes create value, and even the smallest coin can carry the biggest surprise. And that is what makes the world of coin collecting so magical and endlessly exciting, a world where history, art, chance, and human curiosity collide to create treasures beyond imagination.